listening to the Construction Big Breakfast, where we give you a hearty serving of insider tips and business strategies to help fuel your day so you can thrive in the construction industry. Now, here's your host.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Construction Big Breakfast. Today I'm your host, Ben Pritchard, and we're going to dive into the subject of AI in construction, where it is, what it is, and how it could help be part of the transformation of our industry. And to help me with that conversation, I'm delighted to welcome Kasia, the Md of Brainpool. Kasia, please introduce yourself to our listeners and watchers.
Sure, thank you, Ben. It's good to be here. So my name is Kasia. I'm Managing Director and co-founder of Brainpool AI. Brainpool is a global network of over 500 AI machine learning experts. So members of our network have PhDs or master's level degrees in AI, machine learning, computer science, data science, some mathematics. But what links them all is the passion for AI machine learning.
And so before we sort of dive into the subject, can you give sort of a brief definition, description of AI, machine learning, and importantly, what the difference, where machine learning stops and AI starts?
Sure, and it's a great question to start with because a lot of people get it mixed up. I think you can think of machine learning as a toolbox to build complex AI systems. So artificial intelligence is supposed to imitate human intelligence, whereas machine learning typically is a set of algorithms that are tasked to perform one specific task, so one specific goal that they have in mind. And in reality, all we have right now is narrow AI or narrow machine learning applications, so applications that really are only capable of doing the one set of descriptive tasks that they are meant to be doing, whereas in the future where we're hoping to go with all of this is to build artificial general intelligence, which are systems that are able to apply knowledge in one area to solve problems in another area, we're still quite far away from that point, but hopefully this is where the research is going.
That's where we get to Skynet.
Yes, exactly.
And hopefully those who are watching today's video will recognise you because we were lucky enough in this fantastic room in Toronto to host a roundtable on the use of AI in construction. So we won't go into too much detail on some of the examples and the likes. We'll just tell everyone to go watch another video, and I'm sure it'll be linked in the bio for today. I get one question for me before we dive into that is, so from my understanding your PhD is in mathematics, isn't it?
No, I actually don't have a PhD.
Oh, sorry.
I have a master's level degree in cognitive science, and a bachelor's in mathematics. And cognitive science is building mathematical formulas to predict human behavior. So it's a really interesting area of research. It's fairly new. I didn't do a PhD because after my master's degree, I was really interested to find out how does all of this theory apply in real life. You know, it's such a
natural progression from there then to go into AI, to start, like you say, actually turning the theory into practice.
That's it, and I think there's such a discrepancy between the world of academia and the world of corporates. The corporations don't really have access to the AI research, and most AI research is actually they do their work on a theoretical level, and their work ends up in professors' drawers and never actually sees the daylight and never gets applied. So Brainpool was originally built to actually see if we can find real-world applications of the latest AI research in business.
There's probably an AI tool in there because I think generally there's a real disconnect between academia and industry. In most industries, construction is a great example where fantastic thesis, dissertations are written and then put in a shelf somewhere, and the learning from it is poorly sort of transferred into industry. Mm-hmm. What do you think are the barriers in terms of those corporations sort of really looking at the technology and looking for practical applications for it?
I think probably it's always the same problem that companies have very ambitious targets. They need to grow really fast, especially if you're backed by a VC or an investor. You need to continuously ensure that your business scales, and whenever you look into R&D or new areas of innovation, that typically takes quite some time to get started with, and there is an element of uncertainty and risk. So corporations are just used to follow the same processes that they have been following, just because this is what they know will bring them the expected results. Whereas in reality, what I hope that the corporations of the future will start doing more of is applying the new R&D technologies and invest in innovation and invest in exploration of the new areas that have not yet been explored.
So cultural barriers then are something you have to overcome very much from an early stage. And do you think I mean, construction is sort of a very old industry, a fascinating industry, and an industry where that culture of sort of fear of change is prominent, but an industry that is ripe for transformation and is full of the repetitive tasks that AI would be perfect for.
Absolutely. So construction is definitely one of the slowest adopters of AI technologies from what we see, but it's got a huge potential to get transformed by AI and machine learning. There is so many repetitive, manual, time-consuming processes that can be fully automated with robotics or with machine learning systems. So we hope that we can engage in initiating some of those transformations.
And like you say, it's not just theory, it's practice as well. So you've developed Daisy, which is a platform that actually does this in practice. Do you want to sort of introduce Daisy a little bit and tell us how that's helped transform one of your clients?
Sure. So Daisy is the first fully automated timber construction design software powered by artificial intelligence. The problem it solves is that it designs timber floors and stairs and other elements automatically. So we started with floors, which takes about 2 to 3 hours for a structural engineer to design a single rectangular shaped floor. There is an estimated 50,000 possibilities in which joists and beams can be structured around that one simple rectangular floor. So Daisy does this whole process automatically with a click of a button, and the way it does it, applies genetic programming. So you start with a population of badly designed agents, so badly designed floors, and then generation over generation you get a better and better design until the system converges, which is when you found your optimal solution. So the output out of Daisy is a production-ready floor design that has all of the compliance checks, all of the optimization embedded within the system.
And that 3 hours that an engineer would have taken takes how long?
It takes,
on average?
It depends on the floor complexity. It takes about 10 minutes for Daisy to actually run through those iterations and come up with the optimal design. But the good thing about the AI system is that it doesn't need to sleep or eat or take breaks. So what you can do now actually is an engineer can upload a set of 15 designs and go home, get some sleep, and come back to work in the morning and have them already designed in their laptop.
All done. One of the, I guess, the cultural hesitations around AI, robotics, everything is the fear that it will mean mass unemployment in certain ways. That that engineer now, what is it that he does? And I think there's a hesitation and a misunderstanding that what it allows you to do is focus on more value-add tasks.
Exactly. So that's exactly the way we see the future with AI. We hope that it's going to be a partnership between artificial intelligence and humans, where AI takes on the manual and time-consuming tasks to allow people to focus on the creative tasks and on the things that matter to them the most. So maybe what the engineer is now capable of doing, having more time, is, well, first of all, turn around more of the floor plans in the same time. But secondly, maybe think of new creative ways to reduce the CO2 emissions of the whole process of timber design.
And people will jump probably to thinking that the optimal design is the cheapest design, but that's not necessarily. You can build into the algorithm, the model, what optimal means to you. Whether, like you say, is that reduced CO2, reduced waste, all these different types of things. It doesn't just have to be what's the cheapest build.
That's it. So you can optimize your system according to whichever priorities you have or your clients have. We hope that over time more and more companies will start being environmentally conscious and optimized towards reduced CO2 emissions, reduced material waste. There's still about 20 to 30% of wood being wasted by the timber industry in the UK, for example. So there is a huge scope to actually reduce that unnecessary wastage and help the environment get healthier.
And it's a perfect fit for modern methods of construction, the off-site panelized systems, whichever one you want to do. But doing all this, it gives you a really precise understanding of what you need, the lengths and the layout and everything. So it's perfect for the pre-manufacturing.
Exactly, so hopefully the pre-manufacturing really is where everything is going. So rather than bringing lots of wood on site and then cutting it there and then burning the cut-offs that you don't need, you can now measure everything up front. You have very detailed, precise systems that allow you to exactly know what type of materials you need at any given time, and then only bring on site the type of materials and the exact amount of them that you need.
So we've sort of talked about the UK market and stuff quite a bit there, but we're sat in Toronto, so we should probably sort of talk about what's going on here as well. And you've obviously relocated here because you see great opportunity and a want and a need over here as well as the UK for AI and everything it can bring. So what were the market opportunities that brought you this side of the pond?
No, absolutely. Toronto is definitely becoming one of the biggest technology hubs in North America. I particularly moved here for Daisy, so Canada obviously is one of the biggest timber markets. Most of the houses here are built of timber, and not just that, but governments in many provinces started regulating the minimum amount of timber that needs to be used in construction, right? So more and more we're going to see commercial buildings incorporating timber, and buildings that previously have only been really using steel and concrete. And it's because timber emits 80 to 90% less CO2 than steel and concrete, right? So really this is the sustainability direction that we need to go in. In terms of opportunities in Toronto, I mean, we joined the Autodesk residency program, which is Autodesk's way of connecting with innovative startups. And thanks to that, we are now member of a great team of companies that innovate the construction sector. So we see new ideas emerging every single day. And what's more important as well is that corporations are getting more and more enticed to actually embed these new ideas and try the new approaches to automate and enhance the legacy processes that they previously undertook. So we're very happy to be connecting with those innovative and forward-thinking businesses and hopefully help them automate.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. Canada, wood is a really important material over here, and I think in Vancouver, I'm not sure if it still is, but it certainly was the tallest wooden structure was or is being built. I can never remember which way around it is.
Yes,
but they really sort of do embrace a more sustainable way of building, and we do have to reconsider how we build. I mean, in the UK, the Technology Strategy Board reckons that at least 45% of all CO2 emissions in the UK are because of the way we build. And the bit that the wooden structures fix that we often forget is the embedded carbon side of things. We've had a real strong focus on operational carbon, but embodied carbon really needs to be the next focus.
Absolutely.
And that move away from concrete is certainly there. I mean, with the Autodesk stuff as well, you must be seeing all sorts of platforms that do all sorts of different things. So the Roundtable we've just had, we talked about the traceability of materials, better understanding of what goes on site, digital twins, which is a massive subject that we'd need hours to talk about on its own. I mean, does one area of construction more than the other fit better for AI, do you think? And is there anything in particular that excites you more than others around the opportunity it has to really transform construction?
I think there's just so much scope for improving the current processes. Like we said just before, people are still using fax machines.
Yeah.
It's just really no need for any of this. So we are talking about the AI, the fourth industrial revolution, the AI revolution. But I think a lot of the construction sector is still waiting for the third industrial revolution, which is the digitization, really. And so let's start with that, and once we get that sorted, then we can move to.
And I guess that's the danger for the industry. I'm terrible on a personal level. If someone shows me something shiny, new, a gadget, I'll go for it, regardless of whether I need it or want it.
Yeah.
And the issue the industry has is that we skip the third revolution and go to the fourth, and then we can't use the fourth one properly.
Exactly.
So we need to slow down sometimes.
Yeah, well, we see this happening all the time, unfortunately. A lot of clients come to us and they read about AI in the newspaper and they want to build AI systems, but then halfway through they realize that they're actually missing the data, or that they don't have the right infrastructure or the right resources to be able to adopt AI. So what we typically do to start with, we start with what we call a scoping program, where we really teach the client and try to work very closely with the client to develop an action plan or a strategy for implementation of an AI system that's feasible, that we know will work, because too many companies have lost a lot of money on building AI tools that never end up working. Actually, about 80% of AI solutions fail to reach production. Yeah.
Wow.
That is the stats.
That is impressive. We'll cut that out though. We don't want Tim to hear that again, so that he stops our what we're doing with you. I mean that's one of the things we'll touch upon. We're really excited to be working with you at Brainpool as well as Invennt, and I think what I'm learning as part of this process is you can look at AI in sort of small baby steps in your process. You find a bottleneck in your internal processes and look at how you can improve that in the first place, and then learn how to do these things, learn how long it'll take, what you need to know, what you don't need to know, and then see, you don't have to automate every process you have.
That's it. You need to take it step by step, and what we have done is really de-risking that whole development process. So you start with the development of the tools that you know exactly how to do it, you know what resources you need, and you know what the outcome of the initial steps will be. And then once you've reached that kind of base camp level, then you think about, okay, what's next? What else can I incorporate? Can I actually go further and incorporate NLP or machine vision or other tools to further automate? The automation is always a gradual process. It's never a case of just clicking your fingers and automate. So it's always a long and gradual process, but at the end of it, you are very likely to actually save yourself a lot of time and money, and increase productivity and scalability of your business.
No, and the opportunity is very exciting, and the potential of it is immense. But it is important to learn that it's not an easy thing to build. There is a process of teaching the model. Building the model is one thing, but then you've got to teach it to be better. And Daisy's a great example of that as well, where the initial results were good and created return on investment, but it's been exponential in terms of how much better it's got at creating those optimal designs.
Absolutely, it was the exact same thing with Daisy. So the initial version of Daisy could only design, I think, 50% of floors, right? Because the rest was just too complex. And originally they needed to keep about 85% of the designers in-house in order to actually turn around those designs fast enough. And then a year later, we then reached about 85-90% mark, and hopefully we'll be getting closer to the 100% sometime soon. But it is a gradual process of making sure that the AI system is robust enough, and only then trying to automate it further and further.
And for your client at Daisy, was it they've halved the design time and cost, doubled production, and they got a return on their investment within 12 months? I mean,
12 months.
When you talk about figures like that, it's a sort of a no-brainer, isn't it, to start looking at this technology in a bit more detail?
And that's why the forward-thinking companies, the companies thinking about the future, are all going to embrace AI sooner or later. That just needs to happen.
It is, and hopefully, other industries are quicker at adopting it, but hopefully we in construction, we can start looking at it, and we generative design and things like this, they are becoming more and more prevalent, but it's about helping people at all levels of the industry access the tools and access the knowledge, the understanding of how it can help them.
No, absolutely. I think AI is useful for employees and people across all of the spectrum, not just the management, but also the people actually doing the day-to-day repetitive tasks that they don't necessarily need to be doing.
Exactly, and again, going back to sort of the roundtable, one of the key things you pointed out was that AI can help improve productivity because you're getting rid of those repetitive tasks, but as we discussed, it can massively help morale as well, because it's those repetitive tasks that no one likes to do.
Exactly. People are just happier, and they have more creative, ambitious tasks to perform. So I completely agree with you. I think the productivity of humans themselves will improve when the AI takes on those repetitive tasks.
Definitely. And it's that, like you say, a happier person is generally more productive anyway. Not just about moving on from doing the the repetitive, boring tasks anyway. So thank you very much for joining us today, both on the podcast and the roundtable earlier. It was really fascinating insights, and I know we're very excited at Invennt about starting our AI journey with you. Hopefully we can inspire a bit more of the industry to join us on that as well. So for everyone out there, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to learn more about Brainpool, details will be in the description underneath. Links to the website and what have you will be there. Don't forget to please like, subscribe and share today's podcast, and make sure you catch up on past episodes as well as future episodes. So Kasia, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for listening today.
Thank you.
Want to learn more about how Invennt can help your business maximize its bottom line? Head on over to www.invennt.com and get in touch with our team today. Thanks for joining us this week on the Construction Big Breakfast. Make sure to visit our website, www.invennt.com, where you can subscribe to the Construction Big Breakfast on all platforms so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a positive rating. Or if you'd simply share it with a friend, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode.